All right, we've got 3 equations to solve, and these are pretty complicated, so pay good attention. Also, remember that you should use Desmos, and I will use my best, or do my best to use Desmos too. Okay, so let's start here. I draw that line, and then I'm going to look at each side of the equation. I have 6x minus 22 equals negative 4x plus 2. There's no parentheses, so I don't have to distribute. There's no, extra terms anywhere, so I don't have to put my families together. But I do need to move this negative 4x to the other side. And the opposite of a negative 4x is a plus 4x, and I'm going to put that underneath the term with the x's. So I'm going to come to my calculator, and I'm going to do 6 plus 4 is 10x minus 22 equals positive 2. Then I'm going to cover up the 10x with my thumb, and I see a negative 22 there. So the opposite of negative 22 is positive 22. So I'm going to bring my 10x down, and I'm going to come to my calculator, and 22 plus 2 is 24. All right, so finally I've got 10x equals 24, so that means I need to divide each side by 10, and that means x is going to give me 2.4. Let me go ahead and put that in my calculator. I promised I'd used it. 24 divided by 10. Now, the important thing to do here is to check your equations. So we're going to do that in Desmos. I'm going to type 6x minus 22 on the first line, negative 4x plus 2 on the second line, and finally x equals 2.4 on the third line. Negative 7.6 and negative 7.6 is the same, so that means that we have done what we needed to do, and we have solved that correctly. Remember to always use Desmos to test your solution and make sure it is correct. So let's go to our next one. If you didn't understand this one, rewind the video and watch it again. All right, so we're going to draw a line at our equal sign. I see parentheses, so we're going to have to distribute first. So let me do that. It is positive 3 times x and positive 3 times positive 2. I'm going to bring the 2 down, and then I'm going to, that's this 2 right here. Then I'm going to say positive 3 times x is positive 3x, and positive 3 times positive 2 is positive 6. And that equals 51. Now, I'm going to look at this very carefully, because if I cover up the variable, the 3x, the term with the variable, I still have a 2 and a 6. So that means I have families that I still have to put together. Even though there's only one x value, there's more than one number. So let's start by doing that. We have a positive 2. We have a positive 3x. And we have a positive 6. So let's put those all together. And I'm just going to write it down here. 3x plus, and then 2 plus 6 is 8 equals 51. So this was 3x plus 8. And that's where this came from. Okay? Now, if you put your thumb over that 3x, you know you have to move that positive 8 out of there. So you're going to subtract 8 from each side. Drop that 3x down. And I'm going to come to my calculator, and I'm going to say 51 minus 8, and that gives us a 43. Then I'm going to ask myself what's happening here. Well, that's definitely multiplication. So you undo multiplication by dividing by everything in front of the variable, which in this case is a 3. So we're going to take 43 and we're going to divide it by 3, which gives us 14.3 3 repeating. It goes on forever. So this will be an interesting one to check. So let's go ahead and we're going to come over here and we're going to check this in our calculator. Okay? So we're going to type in 2 plus 3 parentheses x plus 2, close those parentheses, and then we're going to put in x equals, and I'm going to put in the fraction instead of trying to type that decimal with the repeating 3. I'm going to put in 43 divided by 3. And if you notice, that gives us 51, which is what we had over here, 51. So that means we are correct. Now, I could have typed in the number 14.3, but I have to put in a bunch of 3's until it'll get me to 51. So you can either put in a bunch of 3's or just use the fraction. Okay? We've got one more, but again, always checking your calculator. So let's do one more. If you need to watch that one again, don't hesitate to rewind and watch it again. And this is our last one. So we're going to start by drawing that line. We've got parentheses, so we're going to have to do some distribution first. 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times a negative 3 is negative 15, equals 2 plus 4x. There's no terms to put together on either side, but we do have this on the right. We've got to move it. So the opposite of a positive 4x is a negative 4x. Put that under the term with the x's. And in the calculator, I'm going to do 5 minus 4. Leaves us with 1x, but I'm not going to write the 1. I'm just going to put an x there. Bring down the minus 15 equals 2. So if you cover up that x with your thumb, you got to get rid of that negative 15 first. So we're going to add 15 to each side. And we get x equals 17. Now, again, most important thing is to check it. So we're going to start with 5 parentheses, x minus 3, close parentheses. Go to the next line, 2 plus 4x. Go to the next line and type in x equals 17. And both sides gave us 70, so that means we did solve it correctly. But always verify your solutions with Desmos. That's the best way to make sure that you're doing things correctly. All right? I think that's the end of our equations, but again, if you need to watch any of these again and work through them, that's what you need to do. That's how you're going to do well on this test. Just take your time and stay organized. All right? Y'all have a great night.